Now, a school in Newcastle has caused a bit of a storm after proposing a new form of punishment for unruly students, community service. So if the kids misbehave in class, first of all, they'll be taken out to a reflection room and they'll be handed a 30-minute detention. But if they fail to turn up, they could face 30 minutes of community service instead. So picking up litter, cleaning the canteen, that kind of stuff. All while wearing that all-important high-vis bib. A bit like the one that you've got on today, Janet.
Yes. Now, I know you issued me with it earlier.
Yeah, she's doing community service, yes. So some parents have branded this as humiliating and they're really unhappy with it. And the school, we've spoken to the school and they stress this is a consultation at this point and they're sort of welcome, open to proposals. So how would you feel if, you know, the kids came home and said, right, OK, I did this and I ended up in a high-vis vest picking up litter?
I think I'd be relieved. I think I'd be relieved to know that they did something wrong. They then, because in this case, it's not just straight away, you know, they did something wrong, they didn't face the consequences, so now they're being made to face consequences. Listen, me personally, my children, I think, would benefit from that kind of discipline. I feel that if they have an immediate discipline in place that shows them that you cannot behave that way, it's absolutely unacceptable, they would benefit, and in turn, I don't think they would do it again. However, I do think that sometimes we think blanket solutions for all kids will work. There's always going to be children who take to discipline differently, who are having issues at home that might not necessarily want to be singled out and feel like they're completely isolated even more, and they need a different form of discipline. I don't think one size fits all.
Yeah.
But
so the concern then on the part of some parents that this would actually be humiliation. Do you take that on board?
I feel that putting them in the high-vis vest draws attention to a child that might have other issues, and there is a reason why they're bullying kids or behaving badly, and they will be a product of their home environment. So the parents ought to come into school and be part of the solution. Don't just stick a child in a high-vis vest because it makes them a target for other kids, even though they've done wrong. I just think I'm not happy with that. But just as I wasn't happy when I've read that in some states in America, prisoners are, you know, sent out in high-vis vests to work in the fields. And, you know, they're already prisoners serving a sentence and having to do extremely hard manual labour. Why stick them in a high-vis vest as well?
But what are we teaching our kids, OK, if they do something wrong and against the rules and there isn't a consequence? If they're outside of school, so when the boys leave school and they finish an education and they're adults and they do something wrong, they're going to get a slap on the wrist. Then they're going to get community service. That is the real world. Yeah. That's how it's going to go.
It just depends whether or not you think that that punishment is A, appropriate, and B, is effective. Because if it's not effective, then what's the point in anything? I mean, I have to say we did do a poll on this, and we specifically asked you, you know, how you feel about this kind of community service in the case of bullying, and we made that kind of specific. 98% were in favour of it, and they did feel that it would be appropriate, and that's when they were talking about
I think I agree
bullies.
with the 98% of the people that have said it. If they've done something wrong and they've tried all different ways, like they had to stay behind, they had to do detention, they had to do all that. That hasn't worked. Then maybe this is maybe not the high-vis vest, but maybe then going out picking up the litter.
But would that work? I mean, do you think if a kid was a recurrent offender?
No, it's not going to work.
But then that's why you have to have different solutions for different circumstances. It can't be a blanket solution for everyone. You know, if there is a child who is all the time offending and going against the rules and, you know, it doesn't stop no matter what discipline you use, yes, you're right. It doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be the same, and there's an issue perhaps at home, maybe something's going on in their life, maybe their mental health needs looking at, and there's lots of other things that you can do.
Yeah.
It can't be one thing for everybody.
I do agree with you on that, and I think about it with my own kids, actually, because they're two very different personalities, and if they both did the same wrong thing, I would probably respond to them both differently because they are different personalities. But in a school, it's difficult because there is this real imposition of fairness, and you can just imagine, well, you know, how come that they get off with that or they have a nice little chat and I'm out in a high-vis vest? So for a school, I think it's really difficult.
But that's another great life lesson to learn as a child, that everyone doesn't get treated the same and people are different, and you have to act accordingly.
Well, I read in one of the newspapers last week that there's a school in the United Kingdom where the kids, it's primary school, all the kids have to clean the school now. And I thought, what a great idea.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So all the kids
Send them
go-
around my house.
Yeah, well, the kids go into school, they clean their school, and they make cleaning the school and keeping the environment around them, you know, it's their environment. They've claimed it. I thought that was a great
I
lesson.
agree with you. I've never heard that. I think it's a brilliant idea because then it's not a punishment. It's just about self-discipline in life.
Yeah.
You know, taking responsibility for your own environment. I think that's brilliant. Maxine says definitely if they think it's fair to humiliate and traumatise others, then they should know how it feels.
Yeah.
Lots of comments on this, but as I say, the poll, 98% think it's good.